My favorite memory from my first Kids trip, which was last year's Kids trip, has to be the last night of the trip where I hung out with a little girl named Amaris. I met Amaris on the first day of the trip, and we've talked about her quite a bit on the air. Amaris was a little girl with pretty advanced cerebral palsy, and she can't get around very well, but she loved to dance. And so the last night we were there, we danced on the boardwalk with the rest of the show, and when we went back to the hotel, she turned to her mom and her grandma and she said, "You guys need to leave Jenna and I alone so we can have some girl bonding time." And she really just wanted to hang out with someone that she thought was a friend and get away from all the adults. And so we sat down in the lobby of the hotel, and she colored pictures for me, I colored pictures for her so we could take them home, and I still have mine in my bedroom at home, which was pretty cool. And you know, I always think about the impression we're trying to leave on these kids, and really with the way Amaris was so touchy-feely, and I don't tend to be a very touchy person, I always say I don't really like to hug people. All she wanted to do was hug me and touch me and play with my hair, and I kind of left feeling more comfortable with the touchy-feeliness of the little kids, which makes me sound really oogie, but I really look forward to the trip because I love all the hugging that goes on. That's really weird, isn't it?
Hi, it's Psycho Shannon with my most poignant Kids moment. I'll never forget when I was sitting watching fireworks with the triplets, Melanie, Matthew, and Madeline. It's hard to remember all their names, so you know they stuck with me. And anyway, I'm sitting there, and Matthew, who's one of the triplets, he's the sibling of the kid's kid, falls asleep on my lap. And so I get to sit there with the sweetest little boy I think I've ever met, watching the fireworks at Magic Kingdom the entire time, and then I have to carry him back, which sucked, I'll admit it, but it was sweet at the same time. So I don't think I'm ever gonna forget the triplets, Madeline, Melanie, and Matthew. I said their names again, that's so good. And I hope that I get to meet some more kids who are gonna touch me the way that they did on this year's Kids trip.
If you were to ask me my favorite Kids moment, well, there's been so many. There was little Philip that showed up at the airport, and this little kid was probably 9 years old, white kid, blonde hair, wire-rimmed glasses, and he had a t-shirt on that said, "I'm Big Al's son." Oh, Big Al's my daddy, that's what it said. And I remember one of the first Kids trips, Megan was one of the kids, and I didn't go. I went to the airport for the send-off, but I had to come back, and my son was playing in a football game. So she was so disappointed, and she cried that I wasn't going on the trip. And so her mom actually called me on her next birthday, and I went to her house and surprised her, so that was kind of cool. But my most vivid memory of recent years was about 2 years ago. There was a little kid named Jacob, and I was just kind of getting to know him. You know, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to Magic Kingdom? It's a small world. Do you want to go here or there? And he said, "I don't know. I think I want to ride the escalator." I'm like, "The escalator, is that a new ride?" But no, he really wanted to ride the escalator. Jacob is legally blind, and he's never ridden an escalator before. And I don't know why, but for some reason, he was thrilled about going to the hotel and riding the escalator. So we did it. Kid and I both. We took Jacob to the escalator, and we rode up maybe 5 or 6 times. He was just thrilled with that. You know, we could come back from Disney World with that one. He rode the escalator. All was right with the world. That's one of my most fond memories of Disney World.
So I've been going on the Kids trip, gosh, I think this might be my 16th trip so far. And for years I went, you know, and thought I was doing a good thing and hanging out with these kids and trying to understand what the parents and their families are going through. But I'll tell you the truth, it wasn't until I had Emma Kelly that it really impacted me in a major way. I was trying, you know, so long to have Emma Kelly, so when I was going through my infertility, I went to the Kids trip, I was crying for one reason, and then after I had her, I was crying for another, because like a lot of these parents on our trip, Emma Kelly was born perfectly healthy, so you think, I'm out of the woods, no genetic diseases, nothing like that. But then a lot of these families in the same situation, one day the child wakes up with a burning fever, you know, mom doesn't want to be one of those panicky moms that rushes off to the doctor for every little thing, so you kind of let it go for a day or two, and then you find out it's some horrible disease and your child's in the emergency room clinging to life. So it became very real for me after I became a mother, and so that's why I'm really passionate about this year's trip, and I hope that you are just as passionate.
My favorite kids memory, I can't pick just one because I've had so many good memories with the kids, but one that's really close to home, that hits close to home right now is a little boy by the name of Chase Autry, who I met on my first trip. And he liked to freestyle a lot, and I'm not very good at freestyling. So him and his brothers would do raps with me and totally make me look horrible as a rapper. And they were actually pretty good, but the reason that hits so close to home right now is because we actually lost Chase at the beginning of last month. And his mom sent me an email and she said, you know what, those times that you spent with Chase and the phone calls that you would get at night, you know, randomly, really made his life a lot better. And he always mentioned that trip up until the very last day. And so I will always remember Chase and the moments we had, not just one, but, you know, the countless moments we had even after Kids. For you, Chase,